I believe in breaking the bonds of gravity. I'm talking about the accumulated clutter of unwelcome thoughts, feelings, and habits in our life and business that generates our own personal gravitational pull, holding each of us down in our own unique way. This video illustrates my most powerful tool, revealing competing commitments. We're all familiar with people who just won't change. They have the skills and smarts to make the change. They genuinely want to change, and yet inexplicably make no progress. What's going on? The problem is that they are unconsciously working towards a hidden competing commitment. Before they can fix the problem, they must first fix themselves. This 15-minute video clip from my Wednesday workshop series shows it in action as applied to being afraid to raise your hand and tell people what you really think. Sam, what's something you're committed to changing in your life?
Focus, really staying focused on one thing.
Mhm.
And focus is the word, being focused and organized.
Yeah, so I'm committed to being focused and organized, not always going in different directions. Just verbally, repeat your primary commitment and some of the things that you do that sabotage your success.
So I have a monkey brain. I have a hard time listening. So I have a hard time listening to stakeholders and getting into their direction instead of the direction that I want them to go.
Mhm.
I have a hard time remembering the conversation and organizing the ask
Yeah.
so that the takeaway is what the person wants, what they want, not what I want
Mhm.
to provide.
Yeah.
So I need to get into the them. I have a hard time learning once and having it stick.
Mhm.
When people say, "Have you asked everything?" And I take it all in, but it's like a big mess instead
Yeah.
of so I take in the unnecessary with the necessary.
Mhm.
Um, I have a hard time reading on the computer and having it go into memory. I
Mhm.
have to print things, and when I print things and I visually see it, I touch it, and I can say it out loud, it goes
Yeah.
into the auditory memory.
Mhm.
I'm a virtual experiential learner. I can't just read and do it. I like somebody just to
Yeah.
hold me, and then once I'm on that path, I can run.
Sure.
Um, Sometimes I have a hard time calming my heart,
Mhm.
breathing, Kriya to stay focused. It's like if
Mhm.
I can sense that it's and then nothing can get in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So Sam, when you're thinking about your behaviors, distinguish between things that are just natural strengths and weaknesses that we all have.
uh,
That's not necessarily something to change, and behaviors that you engage in that sabotage your success. So take another look at your list when you have a minute, and for the ones that are you're like I'm just not good at that, those cross off the
okay.
list. For the ones that are I do this, those are the ones that we really want to focus on in today's exercise. Okay, make sense?
Um, oh, so I say yes to a lot of projects,
Yeah, perfect.
in more in that way.
Yeah,
So I say yes to juggling lots of roles.
yeah, yeah.
And that hinders the focus on the roles that I should stay focused on.
Yeah, perfect. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay, okay.
These behaviors that we engage in.
Yeah.
If the reason why if one of the reasons why it's difficult for you to move forward to your goals is that you're not over 6 feet tall, that's that may be an impediment, but that's not what we're trying to accomplish. We're looking at what are the behaviors, what are the things they actually do that get in your own way. So step 3 is what is your competing commitment? If you did the opposite of your sabotaging behaviors. So, Sam, in your case, if you were to say no to more things as opposed to saying yes to other people's agendas, what's the most uncomfortable, worrisome, or outright scary feeling that comes up. If I do X, I worry that. When you think you've identified that feeling, ask, what would be the worst about that for me? And see if you could go deeper. Note, this has to be a feeling, not just an idea. You want to get to a place where you feel yourself at risk in some way, where you're unprotected from something that feels dangerous to you. By engaging in this undermining behavior, what worrisome outcome are you committed to preventing? An alternative method is to imagine yourself in situations where your sabotaging behaviors accompany your strongest emotions. Why do you feel those emotions? What are you afraid of? What are you trying to protect yourself from? After you get to that core fear, we're going to phrase it as a commitment. We're going to phrase these commitments as negative statements, a negative vision that protects you from your fear. Instead of saying, I want to look smart in front of my peers, say, I'm committed to not looking stupid. Not I'm committed to a better work-life balance, but I'm committed to my spouse not leaving me. The commitment should make your sabotaging behaviors seem perfectly reasonable. It should make you understand how your conscious and competing commitments have you with one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas. Because if I look stupid, something bad's going to happen. You'll know you have the right one when it has a strong hold on you and that it's testable. Sam, how about you? Have you identified what your hidden belief might be that powers that competing commitment?
So I put in, after you gave that, I wrote from my heart, I'm afraid they don't like listening to me, that they don't think I'm smart to speak out loud. Like I think of, smart people get up and they're listened to with clarity. Yeah. And I mean, that's such a,
yeah. So I'm committed to not standing in front of a group and raising my hand and speaking my mind because I believe that I will be judged to not be good enough, not be smart enough.
Yeah, judged to not be good enough or booed off. And I actually went down to the second part. I hope that was which of these is the biggest hold on. Yeah. And I think it was my dad. My dad, he'd always say, women don't listen to women. Women never talked. I had two older brothers. They would talk. They could speak, but it was very, you're a girl, here's my dish, take this, make my table, but sit here, but don't talk.
We want to move from being unconsciously controlled by our beliefs to consciously controlled by our beliefs to consciously free of our beliefs to unconsciously free of our beliefs, so you don't have to think about it anymore at all. As you expose this belief to the light, its power will evaporate. As its hold on you weakens, so will your competing commitment. And then watch your behaviors that are at cross purposes with your primary commitment effortlessly melt away. Can I have a volunteer who would like some free coaching on how to test their belief?
I mean, both of us. I mean,
all right.
Who's going to do that?
Sam, let's start with you. So repeat the belief that you just said.
So the belief that I wrote, I'm afraid they don't like listening to me.
Yeah.
That whoever is, they don't think I'm smart to speak out loud.
Yeah.
And so, smart people, because a false belief I have is that smart people are listened to. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all a belief.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. We could consciously think this belief is false, but if our subconscious believes that it doesn't matter because that ant's always going to overpower that elephant. Mm-hmm. Other way around. The elephant's always going to overpower that ant. So Sam, what is a small, low-risk test that you could stand up, raise your hand and say what you believe, say what you think we should do, and that if it, success or failure, it's just not a big deal? Anything come to mind?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I was starting to go when I was writing this. I mean, I'm committed to take roles that present more speaking. Mm-hmm. When I do speak, I tend to get offered, I'm looking, right now on my commitment with the high school, they're looking for a chair of the career connections to, mm-hmm. Do that. But I said no, because that career connections has to stand up and say to the high school kids and to the professionals in the audience, thank you very much for attending. Today is career connection day. And you have to stand up as a chair. And I was like, oh, that it was
Yeah.
that one element.
Yeah, so that's a risky test. That's a big thing. You might stand up in front of all those people, and if it blows up, then that's
There's nothing really to blow up. You're thinking
yeah,
to go, and that you have a script. It's been going on for years, and I'm
yeah.
just taking. I'm the person who's run it has run it very organized, and
Well,
it's
so here's the
very
thing. If
robotic.
you do think that's a safe environment, if you do think these are people
Yeah,
who know and respect and love you, and that there's nothing that could go wrong, then that would be a great test.
yeah. So I think that would be a good test, and so I think I might reconnect and say that I'm happy to do that because it would
Yeah.
help.
What I used to tell the staff who wanted to work on their leadership skills, but they didn't feel comfortable standing up in front of a meeting, I would say, why don't you start by leading lunch?
Mhm.
Say, I want McDonald's for lunch today. Who's with me? And to start with who cares if they want what you want for lunch or not? Just start with that, a safe test. Maybe it's your family. You have a family trip coming up to Arizona. Maybe you stand up in front of your family and lead and say, this is what I think we should do. And then see what they say. Maybe it's with your friends, maybe it's with this group. But start with something that's safe.
Right.
Uh, and then once you get the results, and who knows what could happen. Maybe
Yeah.
you
No,
maybe
I always get the results that I want and all that stuff. I mean, I've been on this group for 6 years. I'm comfortable.
yeah.
I've taken a backseat role. I
Yeah,
made
so,
it.
so you already know what's going to happen with the test. This is not you raising your hand and say like, "Hey, I think we should get McDonald's," and that's the
Right.
stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, nobody's going to say that. So start with these groups, but the difference between now and your past experience is that the ant of your conscious mind is saying to the elephant, "Hey, look over there! I just raised my hand, and all these people said it was great," and that convinces the elephant that maybe this belief isn't true.
Right. And so I need more opportunities to apply it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't get opportunities I guess I'm not in a place where the opportunities, I just need more opportunities to apply it
Yeah,
and
so
stick with
start with your
flow.
friends and family. Start with these groups that you're already a part of,
Mhm,
and then a next step might be to do something similar in a meeting at work. A
mhm.
next step might be to start something in your neighborhood. Maybe you decide to run the block party this year, but you stand up and you say, "Here's what we're going to do," and you see what people's reaction is.
Mhm. Yeah,
Or
all
yeah,
good ideas.
that's the next step, to think of what could be a path forward, your path forward. Start a conversation and make sure that halfway into the conversation you start that. And again, the goal at this point is not to change your behavior, to improve your behavior. The goal here is to gather data, to convince the elephant that this thing that it's been thinking for all these years, it's just not true, at risk. Sam, after you do this work, it's entirely possible that you will still prefer to have a behind the scenes role. But if you do choose that, you'll have chosen it. And if you do need to go in front of the stage and raise your hand and share your ideas, then you'll be perfectly fine with that. And if you do decide to get a full-time on stage role, then you'll be free to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, listening to Yuri, I hope I said your name right. I mean, I always think to myself when I do communicate or I do stand up, people are always really grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, we just ran our virtual talent show and the two women that ran it at the high school, I'm so grateful that they stood up and did that and
Yeah.
pulled it off. I mean, oh my gosh. So for you to do that talent show, I'm just like thinking you're amazing to even I'm just grateful that you were there. I mean, and so like that to me just puts you on a pedestal of awe of you. I mean, so for any fear that sometimes people just need that person to stand up. And I know that this committee that I'm going to step up today and take that leap, they're just desperate. So they'll be grateful. So the negative that just comes from that, they have no other choice.
Yeah.
No one else has stepped up. I
Yeah.
mean, and I'll be good at it and they'll be grateful. So what's my fear? So just have to say to that so that word came up with listening to you. I'm like, you shouldn't be any fear. They're grateful.
Yeah. And do that test and see what happens on that
Yeah.
belief.
No, and even speaking there, my throat got like all thing. I have this like even this stuff like
Yeah.
little dots say take before I speak. It's very hard for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan probably never even knew that, and I've known him for 20 years. I mean,
Was that useful for you? If it was, and you would like some help with this stuff, I run a free Facebook group called Mission Control Fellowship to help entrepreneurs gain clarity around who you are, where you want to go in your life and business, and how to get there. It's for lifelong learners looking to improve your life and business. Might be useful for you. Check it out in the link below because to boldly go forward, a little help goes a long way.